Hi, this is Burns Hargis with another edition of Inside OSU, and you're going to love this one. Today, as our guest, we have the one and only new basketball coach of the Oklahoma State Cowboys, Brad Underwood. Brad, welcome, a belated welcome to Oklahoma State.
Well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm very excited and looking forward to a long stint here in Cowboy Land.
If we can maintain this excitement, we're going to fill this place up like the old days.
Well, that's the plan. That's the plan. It's been a wonderful welcome, and it's been a great first month in terms of getting to know the Cowboy faithful, the fans.
You've been everywhere.
We've tried. We've still got a few places to go yet, but we made our trip out to Altus and had a great trip there, and then we've been burning up the recruiting trail, and that's ultimately what.
That's the name of the game this time of year.
Yeah, we've got to find good players, and got our staff hired, and those guys have been doing an unbelievable job of.
Well, tell us first about your family.
Wife of what will be 28 years. It's 28 years.
Better get this right, Brad.
Yeah, I better not mess that up. She's the true champion of the family. She's from
Kansan, right?
She's from Salina, Kansas. Kansas State alum. We met our senior year in college, and then we have three wonderful children. Tyler, who will be transferring to OSU.
Yeah, he played for you, didn't he?
He played for me. He redshirted this past year. He had a severe knee injury in the spring of his senior year, tearing an ACL.
Is he as good as you were?
No. Now, he'll disagree with that and say he can outshoot me with his eyes closed, but no, he's a terrific shooter and an outstanding young man. I'm very proud of him and his commitment to basketball. And then I have daughters, Katie, who is a 10th grader right now, so she'll be at the high school level as a junior, and then a daughter who is going to be a 9th grader. So they're both extremely active in sports and soccer, golf, cheer, dance, and Susan is a very good mother who does a great job of chasing them around and keeping them on task, and along with keeping me on task. So
there you go. Yeah, you know, I moved here to Oklahoma at roughly the same age as Katie, and that's good. That's a bit of an adjustment. That's
you know, we've always looked at it as an opportunity to meet new people. My son went to 3 different high schools in 3 different states, and it's a life experience, and we've approached it that way with them. They relish the opportunity.
My dad would always say, you know, Burns, happiness is not a place. And I thought, well, my happiness is this place right now.
Well, and we feel that. And Susan made the comment 12 hours after being here, you know, this place feels like home. And we all know the saying, you know, happy wife, happy life. Yeah. But it's very true.
What did she major in?
She was in education. She was a public school teacher, taught 3rd grade, primarily most of her career, but anywhere from K through 6. And
what was yours?
Mine was radio and television broadcasting. And
I'll let you take over this interview.
Well, I haven't done very much with it going into coaching, but you know, I think the one thing that's interesting is I loved it. It was fabulous. It was a great profession or a great opportunity.
These guys ought to be doing it for free, shouldn't they?
No,
it's not that good.
We should be doubling their pay. But no, it's something I enjoyed a great deal and had a lot of fun with.
Well, take us. I know, oh God, you know this, but the audience may not. That you grew up in McPherson, Kansas, right? Not that far from Salina. And then you went to K-State and played basketball, but you were actually recruited by OSU.
Yeah, absolutely. I was born and reared in McPherson, Kansas. My father was in the insurance business there. My mom still resides there. My father's deceased, and I still have a brother that lives there. So it's still considered home. And then went to Kansas State, played for legendary coach and Hall of Famer Jack Hartman. Who has a lot of OSU ties.
Played for Henry Iba, didn't he?
Back to Coach Iba, and was very fortunate to meet Coach. And in my 2 years there with Coach Hartman, he was came to practices every year, and then.
But talk about being recruited by OSU and why you didn't come.
It was the summer of 1980 or spring of 1984, and took a visit. And one of OSU's players at that time, who's made a very big name for himself in the coaching world, Bill Self, was my host, and loved it here. Really had a great visit. Bill was actually a better host than I give him credit for, but. Chose not to come. Very matter of factly, it was Paul Hansen was the coach, and he was going to retire. Yeah. And I did not feel like I wanted to play for a coach that I didn't know, and what would have been my senior year. But had fond memories of my visit. And
what was your career like at K-State? Your basketball career?
A little up and down. You know, I don't want to say I was a great player, because I wasn't. I was a guy who fought awfully hard to earn a scholarship. I worked hard, and
what position?
I was actually a shooting guard that got moved to the point. And at that time, back in the Big 8, everybody had size, and I was one of the smaller guys on our team at that time. But was hurt a great deal my senior year. Had some pretty significant knee injuries, and battled that. And then my junior year was a very tough time, as Coach Hartman had his heart attack and missed that year, so it kind of threw our team into a little disarray. But I wasn't a great player, but I was a guy who worked awfully hard and was proud to wear the uniform.
When did you decide you wanted to go into coaching?
Shortly thereafter. It was a passion. It was something, and I think that's one thing that all young people should have, as a passion. And I knew I wasn't going to play, and how to channel my desire for the game, my love for the game, and basically became a teacher, and a teacher of basketball. And
that's really what a coach is.
Absolutely, and it was about helping young people. And I knew I didn't want to do it at the high school level. I felt like I'd best be served at the collegiate level, and been very fortunate now, 29 years of
reel off some of it. Where all you been?
My first stop was at Hardin-Simmons University as a graduate assistant, and in Abilene, Texas. They were Division I at the time. 5 years at Dodge City Community College, which I was very, very fortunate to be a head coach at an extremely young age, and realized then that I didn't know very much. 10 years as an assistant at Western Illinois University in Macomb, Illinois. 3 years back at Daytona Beach Community College as a head coach, and then 6 at Kansas State, and 1 year at South Carolina, then 3 years as a head coach at Stephen F. Austin, and
10 years at because that's a Division II or
Division I. They were Division I. They were in the conference that really spanned the country. It was a diverse conference, from Wisconsin, Green Bay, to Troy, Alabama, to Central Connecticut State. You
mentioned some teams that had some schools that had some pretty good teams.
Yeah, and Valparaiso, which developed quite a relationship with Scott Drew. He was an assistant for his father at Valparaiso at that time. Bryce Drew, who's now the Vanderbilt coach, was a great player there at that time, and we had good success. We never could quite get over the hump to make it to the tournament, but worked for a gentleman, Jim Kerwin, there. Jim was has some Stillwater ties, and was at Stillwater High School, and spent 10 really good years, great years with him.
So you got to South Carolina. You went out there with
Frank Martin.
So then the Stephen F. Austin job calls. What was your motivation to take that job?
Well, I was in a good spot at South Carolina with Frank, and I didn't want to be a head coach just to have the title. I wanted to go where there was a program that had success, had tradition, had some culture, and Stephen F. Austin had all of that. And when I went to interview there, it was the president, the head of the Board of Regents, and the athletic director, and I said, wow, this job's important. And was very fortunate they offered me the job, and it was all of those things, and it was a lot of very good people, and the commitment level to being successful and winning was there, and we were able to, I think, do our part and expand that and grow that, and it was a very, very supportive.
You had an incredible run there. In fact, set the or tied the NCAA record for most wins in the first 3 seasons.
Yeah, that's hard for this little kid from McPherson, Kansas to. But you know, really good players. I had a great staff, and it takes so much support to do that. And you know, I still don't. It still hasn't sunk in yet that that we did all that. But yeah, we've got a great deal of pride, and we worked.
How many games did you lose total in 3 years?
We were 89-14, and in 3 years we were, including our conference tournaments. We were 59-1 against conference
Who beat you?
Texas A&M Corpus Christi at their place, and they deserved to win. It was one night they played with a little more desire to win than we did, and we didn't shoot the ball very well. But
so then you had a magical season this last season. All 3 were magical, but this one almost became historic, but for a tip-in the second round. Talk a little bit about that this year's tournament.
Well, I think you have to give a ton of credit to the players. We had 5 seniors who had tremendous pride. Those guys were great leaders. They set a culture of work, commitment, and you know, it started off a little bumpy. We got thumped the first game of the year pretty good by Baylor. And then we had a game on ESPN in the ESPN 24 Hours of Basketball where Northern Iowa. We didn't play very well in that, and it was guys finding their roles. But there was a commitment to winning. There was a commitment to each other, and we continued to work and improve. And we got a lot better. And towards the middle of December, we started to kind of find our way. And as we headed into conference play, we just we were led by Thomas Walkup, who was a 2-time conference MVP, and then the last 4 weeks of the year we were sensational. We played great. It was our best team in our time there. And then you know, I've said it many times, the pressure is being in a 1-bid league and you're 18-0 in conference regular season play, but yet you have to win the tournament to go. And it's probably as uptight as I have been as a coach, knowing I wanted it so badly for those seniors, and we had to get back to that tournament. And then we get a team that everybody here is familiar with in West Virginia,
coached by somebody you knew well.
Yeah, I'd worked for Bob Huggins, and that's not that's not a very comfortable feeling. I don't enjoy playing friends, but as we moved forward, I liked the matchup. I liked the way we were going to be pretty good. We had an opportunity, and
well, the irony was, as I've told you before, you basically did to them what they did to the whole Big 12 conference all season. Stealing balls, full court presses, all that stuff.
We were 1 and 2 in the country in turnovers forced, and we happened to be 1. We did it in different ways, but we were 1, they were 2, and it was really kind of an ugly basketball game. Both teams shot. We shot 31%. For the game, but we didn't turn the ball over. We only had 7 turnovers against their press, and then we forced them into 22. So it gave us extra opportunities, and we happened to make a few more shots than them, and you know, came away with a 14-point win, and which set up a game with Notre Dame and
in Brooklyn. Were you in Brooklyn?
We were in Brooklyn. We were at the Barclays, and it was such a big game for SFA because it was the only game on at that time. I think they ended up with 7.7 million viewers, and
well, you had caught the attention of the basketball world with that win over West Virginia.
We had, and really kind of had control of the game, and Notre Dame.
Did you think you could beat them?
Yeah, no question, no question. I was disappointed we did. Still am.
Yeah, and you could have had a pretty good run if you'd gotten past them.
We would have had Wisconsin the next round, who I liked our matchup a great deal, and you know, then you're talking about the Elite Eight, and you know, then it comes down to one game. We would have, as it worked out, we would have had North Carolina, and I don't know if we could have beaten them, but I would have.
But it's kind of the Cinderella story. It's sort of like George Mason. And
absolutely, I would have loved the opportunity, and like I said, going to battle with those 5 seniors and that team. was really special, and we gelled on every aspect of it.
Well, I'm sure that tip in by Notre Dame at the very end was like a knife right in your gut.
It still hurts, and yet it's a part of basketball.
It's a privilege to be there and have that opportunity. Well, you played that game on a Sunday.
We did.
And you make a trip to Stillwater the next day. What I know there were other schools that were interested in your services. What attracted you to Stillwater and Oklahoma State?
Well, this was actually pretty easy, and I go back to as a young boy, and the Phillips 66 Raycom Game of the Week, and watching those games, and you cut your teeth. I cut my teeth on this league. I knew everything about this league. I had tremendous appreciation for the arenas, the great coaches that were here. Then as a player to be fortunate to come here and play, and then again as a coach and as an assistant coach, and had tremendous respect for Eddie Sutton and 806 wins and the job that he did here, and then have tremendous value in this arena. It is the rowdiest arena in America, and I know how intimidating that was as a player, and you were in awe of it as an opposing coach. You came in here, and I can remember telling Frank, "Wait till you see this place," and then that name IBA.
Talk about, for those of us that aren't real basketball people, what is unique about the IBA, Hartman, Sutton lineage that is different from other styles of basketball that have been successful?
Well, I think Coach Iba was one of the ultimate teachers of the game, and he did it with discipline, and he did it with toughness. He's one of the first guys to say, okay, we're not going to let you score. We're going to work exceptionally hard on the defensive end. We're going to make it extremely difficult for you to score. Well, Jack Hartman, Eddie Sutton, you go right on down, his son Mo, all of those people then have branched off, and then it's a group of coaches that came in and wanted to learn from him and do it his way because of the success that he had and the championships he won. But he was
what are the elements to their teams? I mean, what
discipline, toughness. I think there's a tremendous amount of fundamental things that are based on effort, on maximizing your ability to
get rebounds, take care of the ball,
rebound the basketball. Then it translates to offense, and it's about good shot selection. It's about the old adage, the closer you are to the basket, the better chance you have to score. That still holds true today. None of those things have changed that Coach Iba talked about in his time have changed today.
But another part of your K-State lineage is Lon Kruger, and he embraced the three-point line, and it got him pretty far this year.
Yeah, and I think that I think the one thing that has changed in our basketball culture is we've become we've had to adapt to that line, and when you get multiple guys, we've got one of the great ones in the country, in Phil Forte, that is very capable of making 4 or 5, 6, 7, 8 shots from behind that arc in a game, and that creates space, which is what we all strive for, is to find space in the game so that we can get to the rim. And Lon has spent some time in the NBA and took just tremendous pride in putting a team together that started 2 point guards, that started a couple of smaller guys, and they lived and died with the 3-point line. And
Golden State Warriors are kind of doing the same thing.
Golden State has done the same thing, and the world of basketball has become smaller in terms of personnel. Back in my time in the Big 8, everybody has 7-footer. You don't see those guys today, and
it's hard for them to run like you do today.
It is, but the game's become faster. We've got a reduced shot clock. We'll probably be reduced again at some point, and I'm for some of that.
Talk about your staff.
Oh, I'm very fortunate. I'm excited about this group of guys, and it starts with Lamont Evans. Lamont's a guy that I've been around. I've known Lamont 10, 11, 12 years, and he was a great player. He played at Drake, then spent 9 years overseas playing professionally, and is from South Florida. We hired him at Kansas State. Was there with him. Was on staff with him at South Carolina. Extremely intelligent guy. He's an unbelievable teacher, and he's a tremendous recruiter. Mike Boynton. Mike is a young man that is from Brooklyn, New York. Was a great player in New York City. Played at Bishop Laughlin High School, just a tradition-rich program there. Was a very good point guard at the University of South Carolina. Was on staff at South Carolina. He was actually on the staff that we replaced there. But has been all up and down all over the East Coast, and then I hired him at Stephen F. But a wonderful coach, and
apparently probably knows the Texas recruiting.
He's got a very good handle on that. And then Danny Henderson. Danny is a 700 plus wins as a high school coach in the state of Texas, and
was he Forte's coach?
He was
and
Phil
Marcus
Forte,
Smart's?
Marcus Smart's coach. Won 4 state championships there. As good an X&O guy, as good a worker and recruiter as I've been around. I've really gotten to know Danny through the recruiting process of those guys back in the day, and then we talk X's and O's and basketball a great deal, and so I'm very excited about those guys and what they bring. They're all tremendous people who I enjoy being around every day. They're great family people. And they're going to fit not just our staff, but they're going to fit in the Oklahoma State and Stillwater communities, and they've all got young kids and or kids, and Danny's got one who's graduating from high school this year. But I'm excited to have them in our community.
Well, talk about this league. You know, we talk a lot about this is the best basketball league in the country, and it's true this year. OU did get to the Final Four, but we've been stopped short a number of times. And is the league as good as advertised?
Oh, I don't think there's any question. I think it's a league that produces arguably as many pros as any league in the country. I think we're second to the ACC. I think that when you look at the coaches in this league, second to no one in terms of wins, in terms of Final Four appearances. And then I think when you look at the communities and the universities involved and the venues, you find no league better in the country in terms of going on the road and being able to win on the road. It's difficult because the venues are so important, and sellout crowds. And then I think when you look at the support that this conference gives basketball, that's a special event that goes on in Kansas City in the Big 12 tournament. Nobody does it like they do, and it is important. And yeah, this league is everything that it's billed to be, and obviously having 10 teams, 70% of our teams got in the NCAA tournament. That makes being very competitive every night a tremendous challenge for you and for all of us.
Yeah, the players, you've inherited some players. Mm-hmm. Talk about them.
Oh, I've been so impressed. It's been a true blessing getting to know these young men. They want to be good. They want to work, and we're talented. They're really good people. That's been my biggest challenge is as a new coach. You throw these young people into a tough environment, and change is difficult sometimes for them. And yet it's my job to get to know them, to try to help them achieve their goals, and to let's figure out a plan to help them get there, and not just individually, but collectively as a group. And the first month has gone as well as I could expect, and I'm excited about getting them on the floor in the fall. We've been on the floor a little bit with individual groups and small groups. We'll continue that through the summer. But this is a group that's really bought into the weight room. They've really bought into our culture, and I've really enjoyed working with them.
What about the facilities?
Oh, nobody beats us with facilities. I can't wait to walk through the doors the first game and walk on that court, and then obviously the locker room. That's historic. Everybody in basketball at any level talks about this locker room, but it goes beyond that. It's our weight room. It's our people, and we sell people as much as we do facilities, and those are the important things. And a packed Gallagher-Iba Arena, there's nothing better, and that's what we're going to have. And that's when we establish that, we'll become an elite program.
How many scholarships do you have?
We had 13 total, and we'll have 13 guys on scholarship as fall works out. We've got 4 guys that are incoming freshmen that, and we may add 1 or 2 pieces here as we move forward. But I'm really excited about the veterans. I'm really excited about Phil Forte, Leighton Hammond. Those 2 young men as seniors have just grasped the leadership role of this team. And when you get great leadership and you get great seniors and have character guys as we do in those 2, then really anything is possible.
Well, and of course what Lamont Evans was able to do until he got hurt was pretty impressive.
Well, you got a young man in Juwan who is he's on everybody's draft board. Everybody knows about him, and to be freshman of the year in the league, to do what he did against a Final Four team in Oklahoma with a 40-plus point game is very, very rare and very unique, and speaks volumes to his talent. He's been terrific getting to know him. He's such a terrific young man, and his best basketball is still in front of him. And we've got a backcourt with Juwan, we got a backcourt with Phil that I'm awfully excited about, and the rest of the pieces have been working extremely hard as well.
Great. Well, needless to say, we're thrilled to have you at Oklahoma State University,
well,
and we got a lot of hope.
Well,
so now we got to go get a lot of wins.
I'm the one who's very fortunate, and this is a special place, and to be here is with all this support and all the people, and I'm looking forward to the relationships, and that's what makes it special, and we're going to make Cowboy basketball very, very special.
I think you will. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on Inside OSU.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, that's another edition of Inside OSU. We'll see you next time, and until then, let's get rowdy with Coach Underwood.